Well, hey there, friends. I'm so glad that you're watching, and I'm glad that I finally got these 10 thrift flips done. I'm Marla, and my name is Marla Cain, and I've raised 5 children, so I am raising Cain. I have some cute projects here. The first one is the house numbers plaque. Now, this one happens to be something that you can just about do all of it with Dollar Tree supplies. And what I found at the Dollar Tree were those long boards, $1.25, the little crates, $1.25, but the galvanized letters, I didn't like the shape of the ones that Dollar Tree had, so I did get my numbers from Hobby Lobby. And I realized that these two actually are two of my daughter's address, and one of them has 4 numbers, and I had to put a little extension. I had to attach the crate to the bottom of that board just to make it fit better. It really does better on this Dollar Tree board with just the 3, but you know, you do what you got to do to make it work. Obviously, are you seeing that I did the antique wax? That's a quicker than stain, less smell, less whatever. And then I decided that I wanted those numbers to stand up from the board, you know, to set apart from it a little bit. So I used just some little bits of balsa wood back there, hot glued. But do you see how at an angle you can see those? It would have been better if I had used something black. And I think they probably make all kinds of foam mounts that are black or clear, and that would have been better, but black I think would show the least of all. Now I've got Dollar Tree succulents and leftover little bits of Spanish moss and such. The string is the string that came with it, but I turned it around so that the knots are on front and it pulls backwards so that it will stay flat against the wall when you hang it. But I really thought those turned out cute, and it was an enjoyable, not too hard to do, fun to do, and an enjoyable thing to do. And you can always switch out the little plants for whatever season that you happen to be enjoying. Right now I did the succulents, but you know, it could easily have fall things. There it is on one of my daughter's front porch. Isn't that cute? Oval frame wreath. I saw a picture someone had done similar to this, and I said to myself, girl, you've got an ornate frame that you can just take the mirror right out of it and let it have a whole brand new life and purpose. So that's exactly what I did. I just set my mirror aside and I saved my little screws that came with it in case I ever want to put it back together. I probably won't. But I had looked and looked, and I found these little owls at Hobby Lobby. I think it's finally where they were. Walmart may have some now, but at the time I was choosing this, Walmart didn't have their ornaments out. It was in the Christmas ornaments section. So I tried to hide the little red berries under there because I thought, well, I'll switch some of these things out and make it Christmassy when Christmas time comes. So I didn't cut the red berries off of it, but I did want it to have a fall look. So I tucked those under, and then I just added little bits of this and that and hot glued them straight onto this frame that no longer has the mirror, but is lovely Baroque ornate. You know I love ornate Baroque kinds of things. Looks like I'm wiring together my little bunch and then wiring it to the frame. A little thin floral wire is sufficient for that. I do love the long drippy greenery, and in this situation I've got it kind of trailing up, so I had to take a little bit of the wire and hold it up into place since it wasn't hanging down but rather going up. And I'm pretty sure I got those drippy ones from the Dollar Tree. Now here it is on my front door, and I think almost every bit of that greenery was either stuff I had stashed or repurposed or Dollar Tree stuff. And you can see the red berries. For goodness sakes, I guess it's not hurting anything. But I didn't realize the red berries were still showing until I began to edit my video, and then I was like, well, you know what? It's okay. There's got to be a little imperfect mixed in to make it realistic. You do realize, yeah. All right, Chic charcuterie. Now everybody is seeing charcuterie boards all over the place. I realize that these are so popular, but when I saw this one, I saw it, and then a dear friend sent me an image of it, and I said, oh, that is so cute. I've got to do it. I found this cutting board. It's bamboo. I found it at Dollar Tree Plus, but I've seen them at Walmart, at Dollar General, or at the thrift store. I didn't happen to have a thrift store cutting board that was already the right size or big enough, you know, but I did already have the little chafing dish, chafing, well, you know, the thing on legs. Look, y'all, learn from my mistake. Make your template out of poster board. Look at me trying to cut the shape. Now, see, it has the legs on the bottom and it had the handles on the top, so I couldn't lay it flat against that wood board. And I was struggling. I was trying to figure out how to get the exact shape, and not once did it occur to me that if I put it onto poster board, it would actually stay in place in the correct position. So the paper was thin, and I kind of just had to suspend it with my hands in midair, and just trying to make the exact shape of those rounded corners. You know, first world problems here, but I did finally get the shape close enough. And then when I took it outside, oh, by the way, look at those cute Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus mugs. Those were at Aldi. They were $9.99 for the set, and I think they're so cute. But anyway, once I took it outside, and hey, get a load of this 40-year-old jigsaw. I have a better jigsaw somewhere. Who knows where is it? Where is it at? I don't know. So I had to go around it, oh, many times to get it exactly right. And then I took my little sander and I sanded it so that it was the exact shape, as close as I could get it, because, you know, it was a tiny little little edge in there for it to fit into. So I didn't have to attach it in any way. I just made sure that it was, you know, tightly fitting enough so that it stayed in place, and you could take it out if you wanted to. All right, I happened to see a cute little image on Pinterest. I was actually looking for something else, and I just saved the image because I thought, you know, I love this idea. I'm a twine user. I love twine all the time, and I have a vintage funnel that I paid 49 cents for, and I am willing to drill a hole in it. So here I go with my handy dandy DeWalt drill, and I decided where I wanted it, and then I had to pick a little screw that would be not too long to go through. I didn't want it to poke out the back of my board, so I ended up putting a little nut. It's there. You can see the nut just under the head of the screw, and that made it so that it didn't stick out too far. And then, do you see that little board, the drawer in the background is it's one drawer out of a little Rubbermaid set of drawers that I continually throw random screws, nuts, nails, anything. That was a cup holder that I found in there, cup hook. So I put the little scissors I ordered from Amazon because they looked so cute and so old-timey. And this little twine spool is a little bit big, but you know, I use string all the time, and it'll eventually get a little smaller just from being used. Or I can always switch it out if I were to find a smaller little thing that's just cotton twine. And I love to use this in my decor and just for practical things. That's in my kitchen. And oh Lord, I've got so much stuff everywhere. I realize I do. I love it. I love to see it with my eyes and my heart. These little scissors are adorable. Framed book art. Well, if you have known me for 5 minutes, you know that I love to take little illustrations from favorite books. I found this book, you know, I'm a nut for Laura Ingalls for the Little House on the Prairie series. and I found this book that was already torn up and fallen apart, and it's Little House in the Big Woods, and I have at least 2 or 3 other copies that are not torn up. So I bought that copy of it knowing that I would use it for this project. I had the little 6 plastic frames that I found for $1 at the thrift store, and I have a variety pack of little balsa sticks, different widths and thicknesses and shapes that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I've been using out of that pack for I don't know how long. Well, I was deciding how am I going to display these in a little grouping, and realized that I had this thrifted doily that I thought would be awfully cute, and it happened to have 6 little panels on it. Well, I used the wood hanger that I found recently. I did poke the doily, well, you know, there's holes in the doily. I just threaded the hook part through the center, and then I used a dab of hot glue to keep it level, and there it is, ever so cute. I went through and found some of the smaller illustrations, and look, the bigger one, that was like the biggest illustration in the front of the book, that fit in that frame, which had lovely autumn colors, and it is nice and detailed. And can you see the shelf there is where I have some of my oldest personal Little House on the Prairie items that I have had even from my own childhood. Outdoor bench. Okay, this bench was an indoor bench, and I gave something like $10 for it on Facebook Marketplace, and it was beat up and it had stain and paint and crazy. It was a very orangey color. Can't really tell it that much, but I took my little sander and I just, you know, I could have used an orbital sander. It would have taken less time than using my little mouse sander, but that's what I had handy. So I just sanded and sanded till I took every bit of that orangey stain off, because I knew I just wanted it to look like a natural wood color. So I just worked and worked until I got all the stains off and all that old color off, and then I used Thompson's water seal. Oh, I also used the sander on the legs just to go ahead and just distress them a little bit more. That works well for our lifestyle, because, you know, we're a active, busy, rough bunch of people, and we make scrapes and scratches on things, and there's a lot less pressure in life if you don't have to be worried about making a scrape on something. So I went over it with the Thompson's water seal, and now this stuff is great. I covered it all because I knew I wanted to use it outdoors. It's not an outdoors bench, but I just thought, well, I'm going to just seal it with this stuff, and I'm only out $10 if it doesn't work, you know, if it ends up not protecting it. But I did paint over every bit of it, the top and the legs and the sides and everything. And I will recommend that I probably should have done the whole surface at once, and I certainly should not have set the dadgum paper bowl onto the wet Thompson's water seal, because it left a ring, a circle that I had to go back and remove. All right, so now there it is, additional seating around my fire pit, and it has been rained on several times since I did this project, and it repels water like a dream. It just does perfectly. It's wonderful. So that's a very useful tip to know, that you can make an indoor thing an outdoor thing. Sweater pumpkins. Well, this is the cutest thing ever. I happened to see, you see that in the lower left corner of that picture? I saw it in something else, just in another video, and I thought, oh, I've got to do a sweater pumpkin. So I found a sweater. It's actually a nice sweater, but it was in a size that none of my family could use, and it was only $2 at the thrift store, and I loved the color. So I cut off just at the chest, just under those arms. I cut it straight across, and then I took very strong, good thread and a long needle, and I just like a shower curtain, just like in and out, all around the edge, and pulled it together and stitched it shut. If you don't know basic stitches, There's so many good tutorials on YouTube. Other creators have made good sewing tutorials for things just like hand sewing, these kinds of little things. I was fortunate enough to have learned these things from my mother, and I've been sewing since I was a tiny child, and didn't do as great a job teaching my own girls to do it as I should have, but they were too busy. They had too many church activities and band and show choir. Well, here we go, stuffing it with the polyfiber. And if I don't have polyfiber on hand, I just go get an old pillow that I don't care too much about, and I sacrifice it for the cause. Okay, I used a cuff of one sleeve to make the stem. I decided I wanted the whole thing I wanted to be soft, so that look at my dog laying in the background. She loves to lay her belly on the floor that way. I wanted the whole thing to be soft as a pillow, you know, that it could just be used comfortably on the couch or in a chair. So now that I've got the stem stitched on, I pulled it tight down through the center of all that and made it so that it had kind of a dipped in pumpkin shape, and the felt leaves with a little bit of embroidery floss detailing on there. And it's kind of tacked into place so that it wouldn't come apart. Chinoiserie decoupage. I ordered these napkins from Amazon, and I think it only took 1 or 2 napkins, hard to remember. But when you do these kinds of decoupage, you need to make sure you peel the layers down to its thinnest single ply, and then your Mod Podge. I've got Mod Podge in a matte finish because I didn't want it to be shiny, and I just cut pieces of it and put it on there, and it is fragile. It's fragile. That's only a styrofoam $1 or $1.25 pumpkin from the Dollar Tree, but you could use it on any kind of pumpkin you wanted to. And I did want mine to be white, so I didn't have to do anything to it. But if you were to take some kind of other fake pumpkin, you could paint the pumpkin first before the decoupage. And you could do this on a real pumpkin. It's just that it would eventually, you know, rot, and then that would be like all your work is lost. So I put the big sections on there first, and you can see that I've put the decoupage onto the pumpkin first, and then after it gets onto the pumpkin, I put a little bit more over the top. I thought I wanted a blue stem, but the blue, just no matter which shade of blue I was doing, I didn't love it, so I ended up going back and putting white paint or plaster colored paint over it and letting just a little bit of the blue shine through, just a little bit, but it's mostly really white. And here it is, sitting with my blue willow in the china cabinet, which is exactly how I envisioned that it would be, looking a lot like my chinoiserie china and porcelain pieces. And I have done decoupage on so many different things, and it's such fun if you come across, if you're in some kind of little shop that has a beautiful set of paper napkins, and you think, oh, that's so lovely, well, just go ahead and get it. And that way you can put it on something and have it forever. Old World Metal House. I found this, it was painted up with some glitter on it and gingerbread bright colors and all these little Christmassy figures. But I decided, even though it's cute like it was, I decided I wanted it to look like just a more European look, and I didn't want it to be just for Christmas. I wanted to be able to use it other seasons as well. So I took my little pliers and I removed the Christmas accessories. I did save them though because they're pretty cute. I just didn't want to use them on this. And the color scheme of this one was had a lot of metallic gold edging and glittery kind of iridescent sparkly things. And I would just kept thinking about this thing and wishing that it was more neutral. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to do this thing and I'm going to make it the neutral that I imagine. Well, someone's going by on the street with the loudest muffler, largest muffler you ever heard. It's not muffling at all. Okay, I'm putting chestnut acrylic paint and elephant gray and plaster into my little paint holding. It's a candle lid is what that is. And I'm using one of these little pouncing sponges, and I'm purposely leaving the 3 different colors. Sorry for my hair blocking the view there. I'm purposely leaving them in separate piles so that I can just give it a mottled effect that looks a little unique with every time I pounce it. Because when I load my little sponge, it will load differently if I have those little puddles of color sitting separately and not all mixed up. I'm hot gluing little pieces of moss. This may be from the Dollar Tree. They have little tiny packs of something they call reindeer moss, and I thought that it looked really small and appropriate for this, but I wanted it to look like something that you might stumble upon in the woods somewhere in, I don't know, just somewhere in Western Europe. I don't know, just some ancient old place that it's been there for a very long time. I did put a little tiny wreath made of corn husk, the little seedy things on the tassels of corn that are dried. I used one of those and made a little bitty front door wreath. And then these skewers, little tiny pumpkin skewers, came from Dollar Tree, and they were about the perfect size for me to, when I removed the skewer, it needed a little piece of a twig from my backyard to make it look like a pumpkin. So I did hot glue those in place, and it took about 4 seconds for my grandchildren to remove both pumpkins and the front door wreath. But, I'm not going to get onto them one single bit. If they want to play with my stuff, I don't care. If it's something that I think would hurt them, I won't let them. But none of that would hurt them. Oh, and there was a little bundle of the little corn husk stuff, and I think they did not realize that would come off if they pulled, so they happened to leave that one alone. But right now, I've got these little accessories, but later on, think about how cute the little tiny trees that you can find around Christmas time, how cute they would look positioned on the little ledge there around the front door. Well, after I did that, I realized it needed a front door mat, so I used a piece of old vintage burlap webbing kind of stuff that I happened to have, and I put it in place. Well, I knew I was going to put something in there, but I didn't want to put real candles because, fire hazard. This place would go up like a torch. So I've got so much junk. So I ended up putting one of my electric candles, the kind of candle that you might put in the window. Look how cute. Oh, that's adorable. Such a happy little glow. And my grandson Ridge, I don't know why he thought this would be a great idea, he piled every Hot Wheels car into that house. When you turn it around to the back, you have handholds where you could put candles, access the candle ledges and all that. Well, he turned it around and that thing was packed with Hot Wheel cars, which just tickled me. I thought that was great. All right, here is a very fun project. This is a pheasant that I saw on a pillow, and it gave me inspiration to do my own little pheasant pillow. Pheasants are very popular this year. I've kind of always loved them, but I'm seeing a lot of them everywhere. I did draw out a pattern, which I transferred onto that gold colored canvas fabric, and then I cut little shapes and extra feathers. I think my pheasant must have a first cousin who's a banny rooster, because that's a really full tail, not exactly accurate to the style or breed or species of pheasant, but once I started, I just really loved the way those feathers were looking out of all the different fabrics, and I just couldn't resist, so I had to do it. All right, now I am gluing. By the way, I'm hot gluing this. You could applique it, you could, but it's a lot faster and a lot easier just to hot glue. So this is getting hot glued. I put it onto some heavier canvas for my pillow form, and I ruffled up the edges, frayed it by pulling strings out of the very edges, and then that was that little Delta travel pillow. You can screenshot that if you want the pattern for yourself. And I discovered by accident the greatest way of making all the tiny edges of my fabrics to make them frayed, a pencil eraser, because one of them I could see the pencil mark, so I started erasing to get the pencil mark off, and I realized it was making the perfect amount of frazzle for the edges of all those pieces. So I've never heard anybody say to do that, but wow, that worked great. So if you ever need to frazzle up the edge of something, just erase it with an eraser, pencil eraser. I did want to mention that this cute little bench that's been between all the segments, the how-to for that is in my last 10 thrift flips, fall flips in Moody styles. You'll find the instructions on how I did that in that video, just 2 or 3 videos back. You can find it pretty easily. All right, happy doggy spotlight. Oh, this is the best fun to share everyone's doggies. Meet Ishpin, who belongs to Brid in Galway, Ireland, and it is pronounced Ishpin. Am I saying it right? Ishpin? Ishpin? It means sausage in Irish. If you would like your dog to be featured in one of my videos, send me your pic. And I want to thank everyone for watching and for all your kind words. I love the comments section. I'm behind on my comments, on replying. Please forgive me. I'm catching up. I've had a newborn grandbaby and traveling and all kinds of things to delay me on that, but I appreciate all the interaction. It makes my heart feel so good. It makes me so happy. Home is a gift you choose to give to yourself and to your family.